everybody. This is the Whisper Corner, and in this video I'm going to be looking at the managers of Liverpool Football Club. We'll be looking through each manager, the years that they were the manager, the number of games they were in charge for, and their win rate, win percentage. And for each manager, I'll also go through what they won, if anything. So, the first managers of Liverpool were John McKenna, and William Barclay. They were joint managers, although Barclay was more of a club secretary looking after the day-to-day running of the club, and that was from 1892 until 1896. They were in charge for 127 games, with a win percentage of 60.6. During their time in charge, they won the Division 2 twice. They won it in 1893-94, and then again in 1895-96. So obviously they went down in 94-95. So the next manager was Tom Watson. He was manager from 1896 until 1915. He was manager up until he died. He was manager for 678 games, with a win percentage of 43.8%. During his time, they won Division 1 twice, in 1901-02 and 1905-06. He also won Division 2 in 1904-05. After Tom Watson, David Ashworth. Was manager from 1919 until 1923. There's obviously no manager during the First World War. He was manager for 148 games, and he had a 52.0% win rate. During his time, he won Division 1 once in 1921-22 season. After David Ashworth, there was Matt McQueen. He was manager from 1923 until 1928. He was manager for 233 games, and he had a and he had a 41 win rate. And he won one Division 1 title in 1922-23. Next up was George Patterson. He was manager from 1928 until 1936. He was manager for 366 games, and he had a 37.4% win rate. He won nothing with the club. Then we have George Kay. He was manager from 1936 until 1951. He was manager for 353 games. He was manager for 15 years, but then obviously there was the war, World War II in between. And he had a 39.9% win rate. And he won one Division 1 title in 1946-47. After George Kay, there's Don Welsh. He was manager from 1951 to 1956. He was manager for 232 games, and he had a 34.9% win rate. He was actually the first Liverpool manager to be fired. Next up we have Phil Taylor. He was manager from 1956 to 1959. He was manager for 150 games, and he had a 50.7% win rate. After Phil Taylor, we have Bill Shankly. He was manager from 1959 until 1974. He was manager for 783 games with a 52.1% win rate. He won 3 Division 1s in 1963, 64, 1965, 66, and 1972, 73. He won the FA Cup twice. In 1965, that was Liverpool's first FA Cup, and 1974. He won the UEFA Cup in 1973. He won 4 Charity Shields, or as they call it now, the Community Shield. In 1964, 1965, 1966, and 1974. He also won Division 2 in 1961-62 season. So that was Bill Shankly. After him there was the great Post-Paisley. He was manager from 1974 until 1983. He was manager for 535 games with a 57.6% win rate. He won 6 Division 1s in 1975, 76, 1976, 77, 1978, 79, 1979 to 80, 1981 to 82, 1982 to 83. He won 3 European Cups. In 1977, 1978, and 1981. He won 3 League Cups. 1981 was the first time Liverpool won the League Cup. 1981, 1982, and 1983. He won 1 UEFA Cup in 1976. He won 1 UEFA Super Cup in 1977, and he won 5 Charity Shields. In 1974, 1976, 1979, 1980, and 1982. And after Bob Paisley retired, Joe Fagan took over, and he was manager from 1983 until 1985. He was manager for 131 games, and he had a 54.2% win rate. And he won a treble. He won Division 1 in 1984. He won the European Cup in 1984, and he won the League Cup in 1984. but he only stayed as manager for 2 years. He stood down as manager after the Hazel disaster, and the next manager was Kenny Dalglish. He was manager from 1985 to 1991. He was manager for 307 games, and he had a win rate of 60.9%. During his time, he won Division 1 3 times, 1985, 86, 1987, 88, and 1989, 90. That was the last time Liverpool won the league. He won the FA Cup twice, in 1986 and 1989, and then he won 4 Charity Shields. In 1986, 1988, 1989, and 1990. After Kenny Dalglish stood down as manager, Ronnie Moran took over for 10 games. He had a 40% win record, but I'm not going to put him in just because he was only a caretaker manager. So the next full-time manager was Graham Souness. He was manager from 1991 until 1994. He managed for 157 games, and he had a 42% win rate, and he won the FA Cup in 1992. After Graham Souness was sacked, Roy Evans took over, and he was manager from 1994 until 1998. He was manager for 226 games with a 51.8% win rate, and he won the League Cup in 1995. And then Liverpool tried something new. They had joint managers, Roy Evans and Gerard Houllier. That was just that only lasted 18 games, so it was 98 to 98, and it lasted 18 games, and they had a 38.9% win rate. Then Roy Evans left, and Gerard Houllier became manager on his own. Let's see. Managers year said, the next one was Jurgen Klopp. He was Liverpool's first non-British manager, and he was manager from 1998 until 2004. He was manager for 307 games with a 52.1% win rate. They won, what did he win? He won the FA Cup in 2001. He won the League Cup in 2001, the UEFA Cup in 2001, the Charity Shield in 2001, the UEFA Super Cup in 2001, and the League Cup. I was getting carried away there with all the 2001s, but they won the League Cup again in 2003. So after that, after Jurgen Klopp, we moved on to Rafa Benitez, and he was manager from 2004 to 2010. He was manager for 350 games with a 56.3% win rate. He won the European Cup or the Champions League in 2005, and the UEFA Super Cup in 2005. He won the FA Cup in 2006 and a Charity Shield in 2006. So after Rafa Benitez was sacked, Liverpool went for Roy Hodgson, which did not go well. He was manager from 2010 to 2011. He was manager for 31 games with a 41.9% win rate. He won nothing. Then Liverpool went back, or Kenny came back. Kenny Dalglish. He was manager from 2011 to 2012. He was manager for 74 games, and he had a 47.3% win rate. And he won the League Cup. In 2012, after Kenny Dalglish, there was Brendan Rodgers. He was manager from 2012 2015. He was manager for 166 games, and he had an exactly 50% win rate. And when he was fired, we come to the final, and not the final, but the current Liverpool manager. We have Jurgen Klopp. So he's been manager from 2015 until the present day. He's been in charge for 172 games, and he has a 53.5% win rate. So there you go. I hope you liked that. What team would you want me to do next? I have the stats made out for Manchester United. Curious thing, Manchester United have only had 2 good managers. I say good, I mean successful. Obviously Alex Ferguson, Matt Busby, but then you drop down to about 3 or 4 trophies. I mean, currently Mourinho is one of United's most successful ever managers, and he's won 3. So let me know what you want me to, which team you'd like me to do next. Thanks for watching, and cheery bye.